Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today I have with me Mr. Matt Zinman. He is the CEO of the Internship Institute, and it seems like he established this in 2005, and he's also the author of the newly released book, Z-isms, Insights to Live By. Did I get that right?
Perfect.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you and for making time for me and hanging out with me on the show today.
Oh, thanks for your time. It's great to be with you, Lana.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
So where am I speaking to you from?
I'm near Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, brotherly love.
We try. We do our best. We don't always deliver on that, but reputation-wise, but I do my part.
So everybody's being brotherly now and communal orientated in this COVID-19 mess.
I don't know. Like you ask people like, where are you in the world? I'm like, I'm in this box trying to find my way out. I'm not really sure it matters on the planet for any of us at the moment, but yeah.
I think
yeah.
This is teaching us some valuable lessons about ourselves as human beings. I will say that.
Definitely.
So let me jump right in because I only have 30 minutes with you today, and I have a lot of stuff I want to ask you. I need to know some stuff.
All right, fire away.
So, first of all, the Internship Institute. What goes on there? What is that all about?
Thank you. Well, I founded the nonprofit. I started the work back in 2005, coming out of my business that I had in marketing, communication, and public relations, and really wanted to get into the internship space because I had so much experience in it, and having had them myself and always running programs and seeing the opportunity and wanting that entrepreneurial endeavor, and then developed a lot of intellectual property, mainly to help employers. So when we say internships, we're also saying apprenticeships and anything that's work-based learning in that way. But on the employer side, setting the programs up and making sure that they're great for the employers themselves so they keep doing it, and great opportunities for those getting experience. And we work with college students. We've done that with veterans who are transitioning, disadvantaged youth. It really does still depend on what the employers are willing to do. And then I transitioned into it being a nonprofit in 2007, and have run through some grants and different projects along the way. And now with COVID, there's kind of a mix of things. Some things went by the wayside with the summer coming, and then other things, because I personally have run virtual internships, which are my specialty. I'm finding a little bit of a demand around helping society, businesses, and so forth to transition into having virtual internships. But for the most part, it's on the side burner now as I'm getting the book going.
Yeah, you mentioned, a trend that I do see happening is this: we will be more online present than offline present after COVID-19, because it's teaching us, that's something that we should really explore. So I've never really heard that concept, virtual internship. That's very interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been doing it for 18 years at this point, and that structure for my own program certainly feeds into what I provide and what I teach under the nonprofit to employers. So I do webinars quite often. I'm working with major internship cooperative education associations and that sort of thing. So just trying to make opportunities happen.
Leave your mark on this world. I love it. So let's go ahead and get into the book, because I've got 212 questions to ask.
All right.
Okay.
Wow. Speed answers. I'm with you.
I got 212 questions to answer in 30 minutes here. So let's see what we've got here.
Okay.
So Z-isms, insights to live by. So first of all, I'm going to go out on a limb because your name is Zinman, but you tell me exactly what are Z-isms.
So, and also with respect, I've been toggling on this because there's the international audience who say Z. So, it's Z, same letter of the alphabet.
Yeah.
But Z-isms, and yes, it is in part of an affinity for my last name, and I do have a thing for the Z, but it's not as much about me as it is really anybody, those pearls of wisdom and experiences and things that by sharing, they can positively impact as many people as possible in being insights to live by. So part of the experience with the book is inviting people to share their own.
Okay. So it's pearls of wisdom. And it's stuff that you've learned in your 12 years of life?
Yes, 12 years or coming up on 53, actually, more specifically. But yeah, I mean, I did feel through a lot of life and work experiences that I have some original things that I can speak to, and I've been wanting to write a book for some time, and it's done. So
Okay. So was
yeah.
there some sort of moment, because there's always this little thing out there. Everybody always says, "Oh, you have a book in you." Everybody has a book in you, which I'm kind of iffy about. But was there some sort of aha moment and you said, "You know what, let me sit down and get this out here. Let me write this down."
Right. Well, it's definitely been a thorn in my side for some time, and part of the book leads up to discovering your purpose and your why. People have been describing it as that, and then how do you go about achieving it? And there are questions in there like, what would I regret not doing? That would be one that made the book come to the top of the surface. So right, so last summer I started writing, not all out like I'm doing this right now, but started to kind of frame the concepts for it, and wrote like for 2 days straight, and it was like, oh wow, I've got all this, I did it. And then a year later, right, comes by, but it's like I almost did too much to turn back. I have
Yeah,
to keep
yeah.
going and seeing it through. So taskmastered myself to keep
Yeah.
going.
I mean, that's a wonderful little gem there, because half of the battle is just getting started. So once you've committed yourself and once you're in it, you're like, okay, well, I'm here now. I might as well go ahead. But, a lot of times we fail because we don't even get started.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
one
So,
step.
yeah.
Sure.
So you have some concepts in the book that I want to go through. And the first one I thought was kind of cute. And it's be aware of spiders.
Beware of spiders. Cute. I mean, come on. It's adorable.
It's
It's
adorable.
adorable. No,
I don't like
um,
them. I don't
I
know.
don't like them. Well, it builds on, first off, a concept around earned confidence. So we'll,
Okay.
one flowing into the other. Can I start right there? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
So that being, I guess, chapter one, well, I don't have to guess, it's chapter one.
I
And
wrote it.
I wrote it, right? It really essentially is saying that we have all, wherever we are in our lives, been through everything that we've been through, and we're still standing.
Okay. So
And
earn confidence.
earned confidence.
Okay.
So that basically helps ground us in recognizing, well, I don't have to worry about anything because I just deal with the real and take it as it comes, and
Okay.
anxiety and stress and things. So it has a lot to do with that, and gratitude, and getting rid of regret, and just acting with earned confidence, including,
Gotcha.
it's very applicable to everything right now with COVID, and handling
Yes.
things as they come. So that then leads to be aware of spiders, which actually is interesting because I almost didn't include it in the book because it's a cautionary chapter. It's almost like which one of these things is not like the other.
Mm.
And what we're talking about is the notion that there are only two kinds of people in the world. There are spiders, and there are people who get caught in webs.
Uh-huh.
And so when we look at it as the spiders, we're talking about people who manipulate, people who either will or won't make a conscious decision to impose their will on others. Now,
Gotcha.
it doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. Don't get me wrong, and I do believe this is by far the minority. But look, I mean, there's dynamics in the workplace where people play office politics, and people
Mm-hmm.
have to kind of deal with that, and then it's not something that they would do with friends or family. But if you are someone who will do that, you do fall into that category.
Yeah.
So for everybody else, it really is eye-opening to start taking an inventory of, well, who are the people in my life, and where would I place them in this way? And not that I should necessarily insulate myself from them all the more, but just that added awareness, but all the more about not getting caught in that web. So if you are someone who says, well, I really need to say no more,
Okay.
right? So if that's you, then you are the prey. Okay, people are taking
Okay.
advantage of you. So it's like, well, now you didn't say no, and then you feel terrible about the things that you've been asked to do, and it's even worse. But just say no, and
Okay.
then respect yourself, and then the person who's trying to manipulate you will respect you as well.
So would you say it parallels? There's a common theme or a common phrase that we hear today a lot is the narcissist and the empath. Is it sort of like those types of people?
Ooh, wow, you kind of I'm not sure I can answer that question because it's not on the same track as my brain. So I didn't really make the full connection. Can I pass on that question? Would
You
that be
sure
okay?
can. You
All
sure
right.
can. I'm just
This is my
thinking.
only pass.
That's all right.
I'll
I'm
answer
just
everything.
thinking manipulation and, the person who's always saying, okay, yeah, sure. So,
And my brain's hardwired, Lana. I can't really just quite adapt that easily, but I'll
Okay,
try.
so in the Be Aware of Spiders chapter, do you tell the people who are always getting caught in the web ways they can not be caught by the spider?
Yeah, well, that's certainly part of it. Absolutely. And another is ask people if they do identify with that to try and be their better selves. Um, Kindness and goes a long way. I think one example in business would be people who are cutthroat. In the short term, you might make and get certain advantages, but kindness, and we could kind of connect this to karma to a certain degree over the long run, I believe, and I think most people experience as being a much better way to go.
Yeah. Okay, well, so you've been in the business world for a long time, and there are two general philosophies that you've just mentioned, the be kind and then the cutthroat. Um, I find in dealing with a lot of your bigger businesses, your big corporations or whatever, this sort of push cutthroat method is the popular one, the one that's more prevalent. But it seems like you get more productivity and more everybody's happy to be there with the be kind thing. So why do we assume the cutthroat personality, or why is it?
I think it's an individual decision. I mean, no matter what size the company, just like any family, there's going to be some dysfunction. And the larger the company, typically the greater the dysfunction. So how you survive in that, whether you position yourself in a mentoring capacity and act in that way, and just being a servant leader, and people have a great respect for that. And if you're somebody who is more manipulative, then people have other opinions of you. So it's a choice.
You're tiptoeing around. Have you ran into many manipulative people in your business world?
Well, I mean, I've worked for myself for some time now, since '02. Yeah, I mean, they're out there, and it's just a matter of being mindful and aware of whoever you're dealing with, and just standing your ground. I try not to be anybody who pushes too hard, but I will not let myself be pushed.
Okay. And it's sometimes, because I've watched people go through this dilemma, because you need a roof over your head, you need food in the refrigerator. So it's a difficult balance sometimes when you need this employment and you have a boss or management team that is doing the whole spider thing. And you sometimes feel like, I have to be caught in this web because I have to feed the family, right?
Yeah, and it's also only as temporary as taking action to try and find another job that's better, in a better environment that you can step into and get out of that toxicity.
Yes, go into another job, which always leads me to another argument I have, or debate I have with people when I see that they're miserable and they feel stuck, and I'm like, well, why aren't you trying to get unstuck? But then we get complacent and comfortable in
Right.
our
Living by
situation.
choice versus chance.
There you go. There you go. So another topic in the book that you have is called being a life athlete. Tell us about that.
Right. Well, there are a number of aspects of the book that cover health in one way or another. So in conjunction with that, there's a chapter on mood health and taking care of yourself in that way. And then it builds up to the life athlete and how you're trying to take care of yourself around physical exercise and sleep, and all the things that we know, hydration and nutrition, but also stress management. So that's also an educational chapter. There's some tools in there, like there's a self-care report card in that example that people can use as a self-accountability tool to keep themselves on track and whatnot. But yeah, being a life athlete, I mean, certainly covers a lot of ground, but at the base of it, we're not going to be much of any good if we don't do those basics.
Take care of your health. Take care of
Right.
your health. And we are pushing ourselves, and sometimes we do neglect those areas, especially us in the self-employment field. Because I tell people all the time, sometimes it would be easier to clock in 9 in the morning and clock out at 5. But entrepreneurship is, sometimes it's 18-hour days.
Right.
You got
Yeah.
to take care
And
of
the
yourself.
days are your personal life and your business life are one.
Yeah, that
So
is true. So I'm wondering, because you said it took you a minute to write the book. Now that you're at this point, what was your favorite chapter to write, or which one is resonates with you more so?
that's a great question. I would say that there's a combination I mean, the book builds up from the beginning, right? We talked about the first couple chapters and self-discovery and mindset, but then gets into personal relationships, right? The
Mm-hmm.
spiders kind of go into that area. And then we get into the mindfulness area and things around swimming with the current, making coincidences matter, having fun with 1111. I don't know if you ever think for that loud or
Yeah, yeah.
not, right? So that's all a heightened awareness type of approach. So I kind of group them all as one, and then that gets into amplifying gratitude as a foundation, really another education chapter. What is the law of attraction? But the one that I like the most, that I had the best time writing, was the one that built up to, which is called inevitability. And when we look at the law of attraction, we say, well, at least from my interpretation, if you really summarize it down, it's what you expect tends to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's really where it comes to a head for me. So, but it can be really very transactional. You can't make big things happen with law of attraction, right? Books don't write themselves. Businesses don't get started and become self-sustaining, right? With a lot
That's
of
right.
hard
That's
work.
true.
So how do you take all of these, the foundation of the things that lead up to this, and make it inevitable to achieve what it is you're setting out to do? How do you set that vision? This is right, coming back to the why. This is
Okay.
coming back to the culmination of the book and getting into action. But you have to have a clear vision for that first. And it's a heady chapter. I'd say the one thing I'll say about this is that from a business planning standpoint is a good framework. A lot of times an entrepreneur will look at it, well, I'm at point A, and here's my 3-month, 6-month, 1 year, right? 3, 5, 10 out. And you're working toward a point B. But when you look at things from this vantage point of inevitability, you start all the way out at point B. You get really clear about point B. And you then think of it as lining dominoes backward from that point toward, in a straight line, obviously, in this case, for yourself. And then from there, what's your tipping point? So for the Internship Institute, when we're talking about systemic change, which is
Mm-hmm.
way too much for us to get into here, but you're 40, 50 years out. Well, that's part of the reason for the nonprofit, but I may not be there. The point is, though, I'm looking for the tipping point. What do I need to get to in order to make that happen? So for a business, often it's profitability and the no look back point. But then once you know that, then you can start working backwards to, well, how can I make that sooner? How can I get right? So it's just, I don't know. I'm into that. So
Okay.
that's the answer.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell the energy and the gusto that it came. And a lot of things that you mentioned, some terms there, 1111 law attraction, those types of things. Um, I pay attention to. I think they're very relevant. But I'm flashing on an experience here, and go with me for a minute.
Of course.
I have a daughter. She is 25 years old, so a little older than yours, and there was a time when we were going through the teenage phase. I'm assuming that we talked earlier. Yours are 15 and 19, right?
Correct.
I don't know if you noticed, but teenagers think a little differently.
Yes.
And as the mom, I was going through the whole sermon of, the law and attraction and these types of things or whatever. And it was that teenage phase where, Mom, you just don't get it. You don't understand. And you don't. And I'm like, yes, I do. Right. I'm wondering, with your own parenting style, have you found some ways to successfully incorporate law of attraction, the philosophies and principles into your children?
That's another great question, Lana. Well, I'm remarried. So I was a single dad again for many years. And so my stepdaughter, who's 15, you always pick your moments, right? Like when can you get through? So I can be a good cop in that case a lot of times. So that's a different vantage point for me. And yes, and she's incredibly intuitive. And so she keeps me on my toes in some ways. For my son, yes, I mean, it certainly, he's spent quite a bit of time with me, and these things have, haven't come from nowhere. We do things like around energy management. So for example, if we go to a restaurant and we talk about an energy transfer, and the server is in a bad, like you walk in, you're in a great mood, you're with friends, and the server is in a bad mood. And next thing you know, you feel like they gave you attitude, and they go on their way, and you're like, what was his or her problem, and then suddenly you're ticked off. And so, well, there was an energy transfer there, right? So there's an awareness that goes with that. But with my son, Jake, what we'll do is we'll make a conscious effort to cheer that person up.
Awesome.
So we'll crack a joke, or our goal at that point is, all right, whatever's going on, they're not having the best day. So those might be the kinds of small lessons. But if we're talking about parenting, I will boil down overall, because one of the things in the book around prevention, I actually wrote a letter to my son when I dropped him off at the dorm, and he's home now. But it's like the father's letter to the son, and people seem to really, I'm hearing a lot about that. But one thing where I think I really could have done better is to say, go figure it out. I would have been a better parent if I told him to go figure more things out.
Oh, I see. Because not to cut you off, because sometimes as parents, we want to, roll up and get involved and kind of save them from the bumps and bruises. But sometimes it's best for them to bump their head and learn on their own.
Yeah. I mean, you have to make them self-sustaining. I mean, my stepdaughter, Greta, you give her a quarter and send her to the other side of the planet, I wouldn't worry about her. I mean, she'll be just fine. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, sometimes we want to coddle, and sometimes it's best not to coddle.
Correct.
All righty, so back to Z-isms, insights to live by. And I think you just briefly mentioned this when you were talking about your son and the restaurant. Is that energy exchanges?
Yes, that is part of energy exchanges. Exactly. I mean, overall, I mean, that whole part of the book and the different things that go together there. I mean, we all have different belief systems, of course, but at the end of the day, it's really about trusting yourself, trusting your gut, your intuition, and being aware. So certainly those energy exchanges, and it's a science here. I mean, we transfer energy between each other. The server is a great example, and it's used in the book. But another really comes down to like swimming with the current. If I can go there for a moment, which is, on one hand, there's a lot of hard living that goes behind the notion of when you get that feeling of, I'm banging my head against the wall, or my arms are getting tired, or the pushing of the boulder example, you really have to stop. I mean, that could be a relationship. It could be a job, to what you talked about before. It could be just a conversation, but you really just have to try and pick up on your own feeling and be, well, this isn't going my way. What do I need to do to turn around? What does it mean to swim with the current in any given circumstance? It also gets into relationships. So I talk about my relationship with my wife, Erica, and the, domestic version of swimming with the current is, who is the current? At any given time, you should know the answer to that. Who's good at what? And when do you have to, I've learned a lot from, first marriages, other relationships, being a single dad for a while. And, we definitely bring an experience to our second marriages here, but wow, that's a huge one.
That's true.
Don't let two people be the current at the same time. It doesn't flow as well.
It's sort of the yin and yang. Somebody leads, somebody follows, and then you flip. Okay, you lead today, I'll follow. But it's the current is not always consistent. She has her strengths, you have your strengths, and
Right. I honestly think that's the secret to a healthy marriage. I'll just put it right there.
Okay, so if you were to do the salesman on the soapbox on the street giving the sales pitch, what would be 2 takeaways that you would hope the reader would get from this book?
All right. Well, one is that the goal here is for not just it being a read, but for it to be practical and actionable. So the outcome of the book comes past the chapters I mentioned to winning the battle within, which is about developing a framework, a kind of a 90-day plan that's described as a life enrichment action plan.
Okay.
So if you're someone who's into personal development or wants to get deeper into personal development, that framework is there. It could be a tune-up for somebody who's really into personal development. It could be a la carte for somebody who wants to go in a particular way. So I don't think it's possible to read the book and not come away better for it. I mean, I put as much as
I mean, I'm just, I'm not being biased or anything like that, right?
Right. Of course. No, I mean it. I really mean it. I totally believe that. I mean,
I'm just messing with you.
No, but you're right. It's like, you never know until you get it out there, and then to hear back and what people think of it. I mean, and so forth. I mean, what I'd say to anyone, quite honestly, is, I'm sure you'll have the website in the show notes or whatever, or just go on Amazon, read the reviews, take the look inside for free. You'll know if you want to read on. I mean, that's, what more can I ask for? So that's really on, my goal of positively impacting as many people as possible. I didn't write this book as a business card for a coaching business or anything. I wrote this book to get it into the hands of as many people as possible.
Gotcha.
So I'm going for it.
That's it. We have to, we have gifts inside of us, and, it is not living up to our fullest potential if we don't express our gifts or gives our gifts. I think that's a travesty when we don't do that. These 30 minutes always go so fast. I got one question, and give me a few more minutes here. I wanted to know about, because you mentioned it, what is a life enrichment plan?
So it revisits a lot of the concepts in the book and taking inventory of your earned confidence. What are the experiences that you had that you've been through in your life that you can look back to and say, yeah, whatever I'm going through now is not as tough as that. And just kind of taking that inventory, and that earned confidence, as I said, it really kind of builds off of that as a foundation. Who are the spiders in my life?
Okay.
And then you talk about relationships in my tribe, another exercise. We are the combined sum of the people we spend the most time with.
That's right.
Who doesn't belong in our tribe? Who do we maybe push out a little further, and who might lift us up? And again, it comes back to what you were talking about with being proactive and making a choice. There are people out there who really want to have a deeper relationship with us, but somebody's got to make a move. Mm-hmm. And if you find that, again, that energy transfer, whenever you talk to somebody or experience them in some way, that's a really positive person. I really want to have a closer relationship, then go do it. Right. That's your life enrichment. So it goes, on those few things, through many, many more things that are throughout the book. And it just revisits everything and then helps customize through the book is written as a personal conversation. Right?
Okay.
So people are going to identify with certain things throughout and others. So they'll be able to personalize that plan as it relates to them.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. All righty. So we were at I took up more of your time than I wanted to, but let me do my time.
This is your time too, Lana. I'll go all day. Let's go.
He's like, okay, I want to do my random question and then get you on your way here.
Okay. This is exciting.
Let's see what we've got.
I do. You're like picking a question out of a cup here. Wow. All right.
Let's see what we've got.
Bring it. Just don't ask the one you did before that I couldn't answer.
You did fine.
All
you
right.
did fine. Okay. Yes, because we all have our personal preference. So you should be able to answer this one, unless the wife runs the house completely. So here we go. When it comes to toilet paper, is it over or under?
Over.
Over. Why? No, just over.
I think it's more convenient, personally speaking, and because my wife is particular about more things than just that. So again, she's the current on the way the toilet paper is.
That's right.
But I agree with her. That's the good thing, right? We're not in odds about that one domestic moment.
Awesome.
Not the question I was expecting, I have to admit, Lana.
What'd you think was going to come out of there? What?
No, that wasn't
I said random. I forewarned you random.
I'd like to know what other questions you have in there, but maybe another time. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Matt. So please tell everybody how they get in touch with you and get the book. And also maybe when we get out of this COVID-19, they want to hear more about the Internship Institute and all of that stuff.
Yeah, thank you for sure. So with the book, it's Z-isms.com. Z-com, there's a hyphen. And again, it's Z for other people who pronounce it differently.
Mhm.
So the ZZ hyphen. And there's some free stuff on there, and the look inside is on there. And then, of course, you can go see the What's What on Amazon. The other thing in terms of getting in touch is the book leads to a reader forum. So in a way, it doesn't have an ending. So I'm going to continue to interact with my readers. I'm looking to build a community. It's early now, right? It just came out,
Yeah.
but I'm hoping to get people to come in and share their own Z-isms and interact directly. So
Okay.
keep it intimate.
So we're working on Z-isms part 2 already? Yes?
I'm not sure there's a second book. Maybe a different edition for like the college market or something. Swap a few
Yeah.
chapters out, but I've been asked this. Is no, I really I'd have to live another 10 years before I would know,
You
what
have
else I would write about.
ZMs for 10-year-olds, ZMs for teenagers, ZMs
Now you got me
for...
going. I just finished the book. Just let me do this now.
Come on, keep it moving, keep it
Back and go,
moving.
oh man, you're a slave driver.
Can't keep it moving.
All
Life
right.
is a continuum. We
I
gotta
will
keep
work
going.
on it.
There
Pedal
you
to the metal.
There
Okay.
you go. I love it. I love it.
Thank
Well,
you.
Matt, I appreciate you hanging out with me and taking time for me today. I truly, truly had a good time with you today.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all your listeners, and thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.